This video is to show you how to make this sweet little baby bunny. So this baby bunny pattern, it is part of my new mini Palm Plushies collection, and it works very, very quickly. It is a no-sew project, aside from this little bow here, if you decide to add a bow in, and then some embroidery for the nose. But the rest of it is a no-sew project. And I've been using a combination of yarns actually. So I've been using my yarns from Hobbii, and I've used Toucan, Honey Bunny, and Baby Snuggle, as well as the Baby Snuggle print, and I've used them all interchangeably in my projects, and it's worked out really great. So for today, I have the Honey Bunny yarns in turquoise and silver, and I'm going to use Toucan for the nose of my bunny, and I also have some Baby Snuggle white yarn that I'm going to use. In addition to the yarn, I have my hook. So this is my H hook, 5.0 millimeter. I have my 10 millimeter safety eyes. You can choose to embroider your eyes if you prefer, but I've got these. And then my stitch markers, needle, scissors, and a bit of stuffing. So that is it for materials. But if you'd like to follow along with the written version of the pattern, there are a couple options available. One is the free version on my blog, and two is the paid PDF, which is available in my Etsy and Ravelry shops. So I will go ahead and link all of that below in the description for you. And another thing I'd like to add is that if you want to adjust the playback speed of the video, you can go to the cog in the upper right corner and hit playback speed, and then you can make it faster or slower to suit your needs. And don't forget, you can always pause to get caught up or take a break. And that's it. Let's get started. Okay, so to begin our bunny, we're going to be working from the bottom up. So we're going to begin with the shorts or skirt. And I'm going to start with a magic ring. Now, if you're not comfortable with magic rings, especially with the chenille style yarns, then go ahead and chain 2, and then you will place all of your stitches from the first round into the second chain from your hook. As a little trick, I keep everything nice and loose so that my ring closes a little bit easier. So I keep it all loose for the first round, and then the next subsequent rounds I will tighten it up. Round 1, we're going to place 6 single crochet stitches into our ring. And if you want a more detailed video on how to do the magic ring or any other of the little techniques that I use, there is a beginner series of videos, and I will link it below for you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to close our ring. Make sure you don't pull too tightly because you'll snap the yarn. Okay, and then we'll add our stitch marker in so we can keep track of our rounds. Now when you're starting and ending rounds, you're just going to work continuously. There won't be any slip stitch or chain 1 for most of the project. Okay, round 2 is an increase round. So we're going to go from having 6 stitches up to 12. So you want to place 2 single crochet stitches into each stitch around. So again, 2 single crochets or an increase in each stitch around. And then for round 3, we will also be doing an increase round. So we're going to go from having 12 stitches up to 18 stitches. And to do that, we're going to place 1 single crochet in our next stitch and 2 single crochets in the stitch after that. And we will alter that all the way around. So again, 1 single crochet and then 2 single crochets in the stitch after. And we're going to alternate that all the way around. Okay, and then for round 4, we're going to need our gray or silver yarn, whatever yarn you're using for the feet. So we're going to, this round will have 18 stitches at the end as well, but we're going to do 2 bobble stitches for our feet. So we're going to start with a single crochet in the same color that we've been using. And to finish that stitch, we want to change to our silver or gray yarn. And then we want to do a bobble stitch. So if you're unfamiliar with a bobble stitch is basically the first part of 5 double crochet stitches, and then they're joined at the top. So it looks like this. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook into our next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, through 2. See, so to finish a double crochet stitch, you would yarn over and pull through 2. Instead of doing that, we're going to jump back and start another section here. So yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, through 2. So we're going to repeat this pattern a total of 5 times. We've done it twice now, so we need 3 more times. Okay, so we've got 6 loops on the hook now, and to finish off our foot, we're going to take our second yarn, because we want to also do a color change here. Take our other yarn, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 6 loops on the hook. Now the trick with the bobble is to make sure everything stays nice and tight so that the bobble sticks forward for you. So I'm kind of pulling down here with my color at the back so that the foot will stick out. And I'm pulling it a little bit more. You don't want to pull too much because you don't want to snap the yarn. So it's kind of, yeah, a happy medium there with tension. And then we want to single crochet in the next 5 stitches. So you want to push your bobble over so that you're getting to the actual next stitch and it's not just hidden by the bulk of the bobble. Again, keep everything nice and tight. And we're single crocheting in 5 stitches here. And then before you end your 5th stitch, you're gonna want to grab your gray yarn. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to cut the yarn from the first bobble, and then I'm going to start again, and I will tie this off at the end of the round. So pull through with your gray yarn. And again, we'll do another bobble stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, through 2. And we'll repeat that another 4 times until we have 6 loops on our hook. Okay, and then once you have your 6 loops on your hook, then keep everything nice and tight. We're going to grab our other color of yarn. Yarn over, and pull through all 6 loops on the hook. Again, we're going to keep it nice and tight. And then we're going to single crochet in the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is our 5th one. So before we finish our 5th one, we're going to add in our white because we're also going to put our tail into this round. So I'm going to cut this gray, and again, I will end off these pieces at the end of the round. I'm going to grab our white. In the last pull through of that 5th single crochet, we're going to attach our white yarn. And then for our tail, we're going to do a treble bobble stitch. So the only difference with that is that there's an extra yarn over to begin each section, so it'll stick out a little bit more. I'll show you what I mean. So instead of just yarning over once here, we're going to yarn over twice before we insert our hook. So yarn over twice, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, through 2. So we've done the beginning of a treble stitch or a triple crochet stitch. And we're going to do that another 4 times and then connect them at the top. So again, yarn over twice, insert your hook into that same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, through 2. Okay, 3 more times. So you get a nice fluffy tail. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, so you should still have 6 loops on your hook when you're ready to finish your bobble. And then we're going to switch back to our other color again. Keep everything nice and tight. Switch back, yarn over, and pull through all 6 loops on the hook. Tighten everything down. Now the only thing about tightening is you don't want to tighten too much that you lose this stitch here, because this is a stitch you'll need to work in on the next round. Then we'll push our little tail over, and we want to single crochet in each of the last 4 stitches. Okay, so now I'm going to cut my white yarn, and you want to leave just a few inches there. You don't need a lot, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tie the beginning and the end of that same bobble stitch together. Let's tie it off that way so it can't go anywhere. Remember, not too tight, because you want to make sure that the stitch there can still be worked into for our next round. Okay, so there we go. And as we work up here, we'll be able to tuck in all of our ends to get them out of the way. And now for rounds 5 and 6, you're going to begin and end with 18 stitches, and you're going to single crochet in each stitch around. So I'm going to do that off camera. And when I come back, we will start round 7 together. So again, for rounds 5 and 6, single crochet in each stitch around. Now make sure that you're including the stitches for the feet and the tail as a stitch while you do that. So you should start and end with 18 stitches. And I'll see you back here for round 7. So here we are at the beginning of round 7. Now the beginning of round 7 is where we need to make a decision. We need to decide whether we want to do our slip stitch all the way around, or if you want to make more of a skirt to go around the body. So I think today for the video, I'm going to do the slip stitch, and then I'll show you how to sew these little arms on to make them like overalls. But I will also tell you how I made the skirt here, and I'll link to the bow as well. So how we do this sort of edging is we divide up our stitches. So each stitch has a front loop and a back loop. I don't know if you can kind of see that. There's a V at the top. So what I've done when designing it is this round is worked in the front loop of the round, and then the next round is worked in the back loop. So that's what gives this sort of clean edge here, is having that front loop and then the back loop worked in. And it allows the features to stick out as well. So to do that, what I want you to start with is marking the back loop of the first stitch. And this will make it easier for you to find it when you start round 8, because it can be a little bit tricky if you're not used to working in the back loop. So we're just gonna stick that right there, so you'll be able to find that at the beginning of round 8. And I'll show you first how I made this skirt, just quickly. So the skirt is made by single crocheting, and again, this is in the front loop all the way around. You single crochet in the first stitch and then place 3 half double crochets in the stitch after that. And then you're going to alternate that around. So I will put that up on the screen there for you so you can follow that if you wish. And then with my sample here, I'm going to slip stitch in each of the front loops all the way around. So again, the whole round is worked in only the front loop, and that back loop is what we will work into when we get to round 8. So I'm going to slip stitch, and one thing to note is you want to slip stitch fairly loosely all the way around. We're not going to be working in this stitch per se on the next round, but you don't want it to like pull the whole body in either. So you want to work it fairly loosely. Let's move these out of the way. And so if you're working, let's call it the pants version of the bunny, you'll have 18 stitches that you'll make in those front loops. And if you're doing the skirt version, then there's 36 stitches total that you'll have here. That doesn't really, the stitch count doesn't really matter so much because we're not going to work into those. In the next round, we're going to work into the back loops, but it's still nice to know if you've got them correct. Take our last stitch out. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch to my first slip stitch to end off. You don't need much of a tail because you're just going to weave it in to the body. On that, and I'm actually just going to weave it in now. Use my hook. There we go. Okay. So then what we want to do, I'm going to move this to the side as opposed to tucking it in so that you can see the inside here. Now I'm hoping it won't be too distracting having the ends in there, but can you see the little ridge here where this stitch marker is? So there's a stitch here, and so on, all the way around. So that's the back loop that we're going to work into next. So what you want to do is grab whatever color you want for your body. So again, I'm using this gray color for my body. So I'm going to grab it and I'm going to attach it where I have marked the stitch here. So I currently do not have an ending stitch marker on here. I can put one here though. Yeah, so you want to attach your yarn on this first stitch that you marked. And so the easiest way to really hold the yarn in there is to do a little slip knot and then pull this loop through the stitch and secure it by doing a chain 1. Now I want you to pull that down a fair bit so it doesn't have a big jump up when we get into the next round. I hope that makes sense. And then for this round, we're just going to single crochet all the way around, but we're going to do it in the back loop that's left over from round 6. Again, we're going to single crochet all the way around. So we're going to have 18 stitches still when we finish. And I just want to try and show you here what I'm working into. So if you're having trouble finding the back loop, you could always do this round first and then put the front on. As long as this round was worked in the back loop, maybe you would have an easier time finding the front loop after. That's completely up to you, but it may help. All right, and I'm going to double check that I actually still have 18 stitches. 16, 17, 18, perfect. Okay, so then I'm going to tuck my little ends in here. So they're out of the way. You could use the end if you end up with a bit of a hole here. When you start your next round, go ahead and grab the gray end and then kind of sew up the hole. But if you kept that first part nice and tight, it should be okay. All right, and then our next round, we want to add in the arms. So before we do that, we want to make sure that we have the arms spaced out properly. So we're going to measure out the middle 8 stitches of the round. So you can use your crochet hook or whatever you'd like to find those center sort of 8 stitches. You don't have to put a stitch marker in each one. I'm going to, in my example here, just to show you easier what I'm talking about. And what we're working on achieving is having the 1st and 8th stitch here. They will be where your arms are placed. So because we all crochet a little bit differently, the slant that happens when we're working in the round can be either more severe or more straight. And that's what we're just double checking. The more you make of this, you'll find your stitches will land in the same spot, so you won't actually have to mark it out every time. But this just gives you an idea the first couple times that you do it. Okay, so those are my middle 8 stitches. So these are where my arms are gonna go. And what I wanna do is I wanna count over 1 to the right of that stitch marker to be my first stitch of the round. And if you're left-handed, you'll be on the other side here and you will work your first stitch 1 stitch to the left of the stitch markers. So again, I'm right-handed, so I'm gonna come over here. And if this is not going to be your next stitch, for me it is, because this is where I ended. But if you need to add an extra stitch or take out a stitch to make this your first stitch, then go ahead and do that and don't count it as part of the next round. So round 9 should start in this stitch. All right, so we're going to start with a single crochet in our next stitch, and then we're going to do a bobble stitch in this first marked stitch. Now we're going to begin and end with 18 stitches on this round, I should add as well. So we're not doing any decreases, we're just going to add in our arms and the rest will be a regular single crochet. So we're going to bobble stitch in this next stitch, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, through 2. Okay, and we don't have to change colors or anything here. We're just going to yarn over and pull through all 6 loops on the hook. You still want to keep it nice and tight though, so that your bobble will stick out as you go. And then we're going to single crochet in each of the next 6 stitches. And then we need to make our second arm in this next stitch. So we need to do another bobble stitch. Okay, so now we've got our 6 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 6 loops, and then you're going to single crochet in each of the next 9 stitches to finish out your round. Okay, on to round 10. So round 10 is a decrease round, and we'll go from having our 18 stitches down to 15 stitches. And to do that, we're going to single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches and then do a single crochet decrease. And we'll repeat that 3 times around. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do our decrease. Again, I'm using an invisible decrease. Okay, and I had forgotten to put my stitch marker back in there. All right, so that is the end of round 10. And then for the next 3 rounds, rounds 11, 12, and 13, you're going to single crochet in each stitch. So again, I'm going to do that off camera, but when I come back, we will start by adding in our eyes and doing round 14 together. So the next 3 rounds, rounds 11, 12, and 13, you'll single crochet in each stitch around. So we're back here after completing round 13 of the body and head, and we're going to add in the safety eyes now. So even if you're not using safety eyes, I would still recommend using stitch markers to mark out where the eyes should go, just to help you later on. But we know that our arms were created on round 9 of the body, and we want to place our eyes on round 11. So 10, 11. So they're going to go along this line here. So what I do to start is I just place one of the eyes in where I think it might go. And then I'm going to take the second eye, and don't secure the eye yet, just place it in there. I'm going to take the second eye and count over 4 stitches. So we want them on round 11, 4 stitches apart. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And just place that in there. And then take a look and see if that lines up. And if you don't feel it lines up, then move one eye over and then move the other eye over, moving them like each 1 stitch. So I think that lines up pretty well for me. So I'm going to go ahead and secure the backs. So secure them however you like. And then what we need to do is we need to map out where our ears should go. And to do that, we want to locate the middle 7 stitches this time. So down here, it was the middle 8. Up here, it's the middle 7. So I think this is probably my middle stitch here. And again, you don't have to place stitch markers in each stitch, but I want to do it on the video just to help you visualize what I'm doing. Okay, so there's 5, and then I'm going to add in my yellow ones here. And these yellow ones are actually where the ears are going to be placed. Now it will, once we're done the pattern, it'll look, or done this round even, the ears will look like they've moved in a bit because we're going to do some decreases in here as well. So don't worry if you feel they're too far apart to start here. Okay, so there's our middle 7. And then the same as when we were measuring out the arms, we're going to look to the right hand side here, and I want this to be my next stitch. So right now it isn't for me. So I'm going to single crochet in this stitch, and that's not going to count as the beginning of round 14. It's just going to be a shift stitch. And if you're left-handed, you're going to do the same on the other side to make sure that this is your next stitch that you work in. And again, as you're making more of these, you won't have to mark out the stitches every time. You'll get to know how you crochet and how everything lines up. Okay, so I need to put an extra stitch in here. Again, that is not part of round 14. It's just an extra shift stitch to make sure everything's lined up properly. And then I'm going to single crochet in the first stitch of my round. So this is 1 stitch to the right of the stitch markers. And if you're left-handed, you want 1 stitch to the left. Just a single crochet. So this round 14, we're going to go from having 15 stitches down to 12 stitches. And we're also going to be creating the ears. And the ears are going to be created similarly to the band here at the waist, where we're going to work in just the front loop to create the ears. And then in the following round, we'll work in the back loop of the same stitch to kind of cover over what we've done to create the ear. So this yellow stitch marker here, this is where we're going to create our ear. So again, for this round, we've only done a single crochet stitch, and then we're going to work in the front loop of this next stitch to create our ear. So to do that, we want to start with a slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 6. And we're going to work back down along this chain to create our ear. So working in the second chain from the hook, and now when I'm working in my chains, when I'm only going to be working on one side of the chain, I like to work in the back bump of it so that I have this V shape on both sides of my ear. You don't have to work down the chain that way. It's just my preferred way. So to work back down the chain, we want to single crochet in our second chain from the hook. And then we're going to half double crochet in our next chain. Double crochet in the chain after that. Half double crochet in our next chain. And then in our last chain, we want to place a single crochet. So then to finish off the ear, you're going to do another slip stitch in the front loop of this stitch. So the ears begin and end with a slip stitch, followed by the chain and the stitches working down the chain. Let's finish our slip stitch there. Okay, so there's our ear. And then what I want to do is I'm going to work in these next 5 stitches. I'm going to do a single crochet decrease with the first 2, single crochet, then single crochet decrease. And I will add in my other ear that's fallen out here. Okay, so I'm going to take out these 5 stitch markers. And again, I want to do a decrease, single crochet decrease, across those next 2 stitches, single crochet, then another single crochet decrease, and then we're going to work our second ear. So the second ear is worked the same as the first. Again, we're going to split up our stitch into front loop and back loop. So we're going to work in the front loop here. And if you want, you can mark that back loop so that you don't have to try and find it on the next round. That might make it easier if you're not familiar with working stitches this way. But for our ear, we want to start with a slip stitch. Then we're going to chain 6. And then working in the second chain from the hook. Again, I work in the back bump. We're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook, half double crochet in the next chain, double crochet, half double crochet, and then in that final chain we want to do a single crochet, and to finish it we want to do another slip stitch in the front loop of this stitch. So there's our second ear. And then what we want to do is we're going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Do a single crochet decrease. So this is what's bringing us down to 12 stitches. It's having those 3 decreases scattered throughout. And then single crochet in the last 2 stitches of our round. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to actually stuff this, because the next round is our last round and we're going to come right into having only 6 stitches. So you want to do as much stuffing as you can now. If you're using a thicker yarn like this, you will be able to put some more stuffing in the top. But if you're using a thinner yarn, it'll be tricky to get in there. So stuff as much as you can right now. And I like to make sure that I puff out the sides so it's not too, doesn't look too tall. And if you are having trouble with it being too tall, I know some people crochet with like a taller stitch. You could take out one of the rounds where you just single crochet around. You could take out one of those completely. And it should help. But also stuffing it so that the stuffing's placed down the sides to sort of make it a little bit rounder helps as well. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it at that, and because I'm using a thicker yarn, I'll be able to use the end of my hook to get some more stuffing in after this. So let's start round 15. So round 15 is a decrease round, and we're going to go from having 12 stitches down to 6 stitches. The trick with this round is going to be that with the decrease, you'll need to work in the back loop of the stitches that are behind, the ears are on. So I will show you what that looks like. We're going to go and start our invisible decrease by going in the front loop of this one, and then we're going to fold our ear down and find the back loop of the ear, and then finish our invisible decrease that way. Okay, and then we'll do a regular invisible decrease here. And then for our third one, we'll have to do the same thing as we did over here, where we start our decrease in the front loop of this stitch, and then go ahead and find the back loop of the next one. Okay. And then we want to do 3 more single crochet decreases back behind the ears here. These are just regular ones. Sorry, they're not regular ones. They're invisible decreases still. There we go, and end with a slip stitch here. And then we'll leave about 6 inches so that we can cinch up our top here when we're done. First, I'm going to add a bit more stuffing in the top. See how the top is kind of flat? There's more space in here under that ridge. That's what I'm going to fill up with some stuffing. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and cinch that top together. So I'm not going to show how to do a bow in this video specifically, but I will link below the exact part in the baby chick video where I create the bow so that you can learn how to do it. It's the same bow. But for this video, I'm going to show you how I did the overall part and the nose. so let's start with the nose. So you need, oh, I don't know, maybe 12 inches of yarn. I'm gonna use peach for mine. You can use peach, pink, whatever color you feel like, and thread your needle. So I made the noses for these little guys, and it's sort of the shape of a heart. And I did that on round 9, between rounds 9 and 10, I found the center stitch and I started there. So insert your needle there, and then I came up, so it's maybe a round and a half up because I'm coming up in the middle of the stitch rather than in between the rounds. So I came up in the middle of the V of this stitch here. So you're going just a little bit to the left of where you're inserting the needle. Okay, you see that? And then I want to repeat again through that same set of holes. Okay, and then we're going to start the other side. So we're going to pull this down and we're going to insert our needle again into this bottom part, but this time we're going to come up over here. So this is in the middle of that next stitch. So there's 2 stitches here on this round, which is round 11. So there's 2 stitches here in the middle, and you're going to bring the needle up the center of that stitch. Oh, my end is trying to disappear on me here. There we go. Okay. And then again, repeat through the same set of holes, just to make it a little bit thicker. Okay, and then we're going to come down with this final piece. Come down on the outside, on the inside. I think the outside will look better. And you can fluff up the other side too with your needle. And then we're going to tie off here in the center part. So you want to tie off down by where we kept inserting the needle, down at near that hole. And then when you pull the yarn in, make sure you pull the knot in as well. And don't worry about the nose kind of disappearing a little bit on you. We're going to fix that. So pull those ends in, and then we'll take our needle and fluff up our nose here a bit. There we go. All right, so there's our nose done. And then for the sort of overall straps, I grabbed the same color that I used for the bottom here. And you need maybe about 12 inches again. Like, you don't need a lot of yarn for these. So let's say about 12 inches. Thread it through your yarn needle. And then what we want to do is we want to figure out sort of a nice even stitch on either side here to place the straps. So I'm thinking here and here. I'm going to mark them with stitch markers just to show you. You don't have to do that. Put one stitch marker there, and then I think probably here be a good spot for the second one, or maybe that one could maybe move over a little bit. Even if you pull it, that makes it okay. And then on the back, you're going to need 2 spots as well. And I just put the yarn like up and over this little arm. I didn't have it too far back. So I guess about the same distance or so away from the arm on either side. Again, you can just kind of play around with it until it works the way you want it to. So that's about the same. All right, I think that'll work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath this stitch that we've marked. I'm going to leave the stitch marker in just to show you. Underneath here, okay, we're going to leave this little end. We're going to climb up over the arm. And you want to keep this fairly tight once you're finished. Like right now it won't be, but once you're tying off, make sure that it's fairly tight so it stays over the arm instead of flipping down. Okay, and then we're going to come around the back. We're going to go under that stitch that we marked. Make sure it's sitting in the right spot and you haven't lost your tail. You're going to want that to tie off. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the next sort of stitch here and come down underneath all of these stitches, and we're going to come up just over here, like just before this stitch marker. So you're not going to see this little part. We're going to pull it so that it's kind of underneath our ridge. Okay, so this is up just before our stitch marker. And then we're going to go in here underneath the stitch we marked. Okay, and then, oh, poor little stitch marker. Okay, and then we're going to come up around the arm. We're going to come underneath our marked stitch. Then we're going to go down one stitch over from where we're coming out here. Down one stitch over, up one stitch over, which here is only about one stitch. And then we're going to meet here where this end is. Okay, so again, we're going under, up here, under, over one, underneath the back, over one, under the stitch, over, under, over, under. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And then we're going to go ahead and tie a knot here where we started. You want to make sure that everything's fairly tight over the arms so that they doesn't just flip off. Okay, and do it close to one of the holes here that you've gone into. And then we can hide away our knot and our tails here in the body. Okay, let's get rid of these so we can see what we actually did. All right, okay, so now we have some cute little overalls on our bunny. And that's it. We've made our little baby bunny. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.